Good morning. Mike Bain here. Thanks for being here with us today to think about water and health. Thanks to Megan and to Jesse and the entire team that made this possible. It's great to see a lot of familiar faces and some new faces in the audience. Thanks for braving the COVID fog as it's lifting and re-engaging with each other. I think my comments are just high level today, and the real magic happens after I'm done. But thinking and reflecting on this image behind us, pretty amazing. When we think about Nebraska, when we think about what makes Nebraska special, water is right at the top of that list. We're the third largest agricultural economy in the United States. We impact and produce food, fuel, feed, and fiber for a growing world. And we do it in a way, I truly believe this, having spent 5 growing seasons now in Nebraska, 5 calving seasons in Nebraska, and having visited all but 2 counties and nearly all 531 communities in this great state, that we produce food, fuel, feed, and fiber in a way that's harmonized with our natural environment. To say that we do it perfect would be, well, candidly, not true. But we put a premium on the stewardship of our natural resources, our water, our air, and our land. And when we think about the state, nearly 80,000 miles, 80,000 miles of surface water. And we sit on top of the epicenter of the Ogallala or High Plains Aquifer. We all know the story. 72% of the Ogallala's water is right underneath Nebraska. And while parts of the Ogallala Aquifer, especially those that stretch to the south, to our neighbors to the south, are running into quantity issues, we in Nebraska have been amazing stewards with less than 1 foot depletion of the Ogallala Aquifer or the High Plains Aquifer since 1950 when we started tracking this. So it's quite spectacular. And of course, we all know the linkage between groundwater and surface water and atmospheric precipitation. So this system, as we look at this picture, is pretty amazing. And then, of course, the life that the water sustains from humans, yes, but animals and fish and vegetation. And the cycling of water, thinking about how water and the folks in Arizona right now around Lake Mead are giving this some big thought, and overcrowded urban settings and places where water is absolutely essential and lifeblood, and there's not enough of it. The cycling of water, the cooling, the transpirational rate of the plants, so critical to our own existence, and especially feeding, fueling, fibering a growing world that's jumping. In the next 29 years, folks, we're on the clock, from 7.5 billion people to over 9 billion people, with already 1 billion people in a pernicious cycle of water and food insecurity, and how that destabilizes regions around the world. So today's conference is really about thinking about this balance today and tomorrow. I would encourage you to think about the balance. Think about how each of us thinks about the water, thinks about our way of life in this part of the world, think about taking care of the water, the air, and the land, the interactions, and how we do a better job of pulling together to solve some of these wicked, complex challenges that still allow us to feed, fuel, fiber a growing world in a sustainable way. So with that, thank you for being here. It's my privilege to join you for this first part of the conference, and I hope you have a great conference.
Good morning, and for those of you new to the Innovation Campus, welcome, and for the rest of you, welcome back. I think we're all very excited by this event as an in-person event to sort of at least continue this journey back from the COVID situation. I'm excited about this particular event in terms of the journey between water and health and some of the things we've been focusing on here at the university and across the university and across the state, particularly in establishing the water, climate, and health program across at the College of Public Health and at DWFI and the Institute of Agricultural and Natural Resources. For those of you not familiar with DWFI, our vision is for a food and water secure world. In other words, how do we produce more nutritious food with less impact on our water resources and environment? We do this through research and outreach, focusing efforts on issues and opportunities, improve management, informing policy decisions, sharing knowledge, convening stakeholders, but ultimately affecting change. How do we change the situation on the ground? While we will have to postpone the party, DWFI marked its 10th birthday last year. However, the depth of expertise here in Nebraska, and as Mike explained, is that in Nebraska itself, in terms of water, agriculture, and health, stretches back decades. This includes the Nebraska Water Center. Dr. Chittaranjan Ray is here today, the director of the Nebraska Water Center. A component part of Water for Food Institute, but it has a history that goes back more than 60 years here in Nebraska. And our Water Sciences Laboratory, also part of the Water for Food Institute, but it works across the university system and has capacity, unique capacities amongst most university centers to be able to detect different constituents in water quality, so an important capability. Importantly, we also partner with more than 120 faculty fellows across the university system, a number of whom are present here, and also with a network of partners across the state and further afield. I see a few familiar faces here from across the state. Water quality and its effect on public health is one of DWFI's top 5 strategic areas. We have already partnered with many of you, many participating here, and others in the state and further afield, working on developing solutions and addressing the challenge at hand. Just under a year ago, the University of Nebraska announced a $5 million gift committed from Ann Hubbard, who I don't think is here today, but to establish the Water, Climate, and Health program. This really built on what I saw as a progress within the university, but also within the institute, to really focus on these issues. The goal of this program is to understand the public health threats associated with changes in the environment and work collaboratively to address those challenges. The program, which we'll hear more about through the day, is housed in the College of Public Health at UNMC, which we had been working with before the establishment of this program, but I think this was for me, it was an exciting establishment of the bridge between water, agriculture, and health across the university system. We collaborate through the Doherty Water for Food Institute and the wider Institute of Agricultural and Natural Resources here at UNL. With that, in getting that set up, I think we're at an exciting stage now. It's been rolled out, this program. Now this summit is the first significant event. I think it took a lot of work in really getting this to work with the many partners. Particularly Mike Boehm was very instrumental in making this happen. But I'd also like to thank Dean Ali Khan and Dr. Ellie Rogan, who is in the audience from the College of Public Health, and for their considerable efforts and support through this process. And there's many others who made this work. It is a large organization, and trying to get everyone on the same page and get the correct things lined up was certainly a challenge. We were then very pleased to welcome Jesse Bell to lead this effort and to have him join the Water for Food Institute leadership team. His expertise in connecting the effects of water quality and climate change to public health is a huge asset to the university and to the institute. And his willingness to collaborate across a range of fields has yielded many results already. It's really been quite heartening to see how quickly this has progressed. I want to just close out by saying that the challenges here, I have worked, and now I think I'm coming up to about 8 years in the Platte River Basin, so I have worked in this region for a while in one capacity or another. But I also have had the opportunity to work in many different countries. And water quality has been one of these things that keeps coming up in different forms in different countries. And Nebraska, in many ways, because of the way the water quantity is managed, the water quality issues are challenging, but yet there is opportunities there to address. In places like Jordan, where they're extremely water scarce, the wastewater, even though they treat it, becomes extraordinarily problematic in the agricultural area and then impacting public health. In places like Bangladesh, where arsenic has been the sort of bane to providing fresh drinking water to their population, that has been very problematic. I think one story, and I've worked quite a bit with the wastewater piece of this, especially the untreated part, and what this does between the urban areas and the agricultural areas, and vice versa, where you get these interactions around contamination and into the public health. One story that really struck me in work we were doing in the Rift Valley in Ethiopia a few years ago, we were looking at it was actually fluoride was the concern there, a geological contaminant in the groundwater, and very difficult hydrogeology to understand. And then the population was growing, agriculture was growing, we have climate change being quite severely shifting what is happening in the Rift Valley, and trying to understand what was going on, but also looking at the health perspectives, and particularly in the rural communities. And the one story that was very striking to me was around, with the health interviews with the population, was two twin girls who were 5 years old. And one of the girls who at 5 was perfectly healthy, and a healthy young girl running around in the village, where her sister had very serious fluorosis, skeletal fluorosis, which is a severe bone condition, and really she was basically crippled. What it turned out from the interviews, what was happening there, and this is just to show the interconnections and the complexities of all this, they were both drinking from the same water source. And this was the groundwater that this particular well was drawing its water from, and was high in fluoride. But one of the young girls refused to drink milk as a young child, as cow's milk. And the sister who drank the cow's milk ended up being quite healthy and normal, whereas the other young girl who did not drink milk ended up with this condition. My point there is really how complicated this, how contextualized it is. But I think some of the things, because of Nebraska, the history we have here in managing water, the issues around water quality, and the many scientists we actually have in terms of addressing these issues, we struggle with some of how do we actually convince people to make the changes that are necessary? But again, I think this is an opportunity where Nebraska can lead the way. So thank you again, Mike and others. And I will now hand over to Jesse Bell, the Director of the Water, Climate, and Health Program.
I really appreciate it. And like I said, I want to first start off by really thanking Megan and Amber for all their help with the logistics and pulling this thing together. It wouldn't have been possible without either of them. And then also, I want to thank the Center for Preparedness Education for helping with coming up with the design and structure of some of the things that we're going to be doing over the next couple of days. I greatly appreciate your expertise and your collaboration both today and with previous projects and future projects that we will work on as well. And then lastly, I also want to thank the advisory panel that for this summit, for their help in providing expertise and input to make sure that we could do this effectively as possible. And so when we're talking about this Water and Health Summit, this is obviously coming through the Water, Climate, and Health Program and the Water, Climate, and Health Initiative at DWFI. This Water, Climate, and Health Program is designed to build interdisciplinary collaborations across University of Nebraska system to try to address some of the public health challenges associated with water and climate. And we're doing this through research, education, policy development, and training. And so when we talk about water, especially water here in Nebraska and all across the globe, we're talking about water as either being too much, too little, or it's not clean enough. And these three challenges are really three of the things that we want to focus on today and tomorrow with this summit. And so what we did was try to bring together some of the experts across the state to really try to get at what are some of the issues and what are some of the next steps moving forward in trying to address some of the challenges that we face. And I want to underline this. Health is the main reason that we're here today and the main reason for this summit. We want to understand the challenges and we want to understand the opportunities moving forward to try to address some of the health issues that we face. And we're going to hear about some of those health issues from various people over the next couple of days as well. And so the purpose of this meeting is to improve the health of Nebraska, or work on improving the health of Nebraska. Obviously, we're not going to address all of the challenges, and we're not going to make all the difference over this 2-day workshop or summit, but hopefully this starts getting the ball rolling and helps build some of those efforts that have already been moving forward. The summit's goal is to clarify some of the water and health issues in Nebraska, define some of the obstacles that prevent key solutions from moving forward, and then operationalize or to talk about ways of operationalizing some of those solutions. And the summit attendees, one, I really appreciate your participation in this. Our goal was to try to bring together some of the leaders around health and water related issues here in Nebraska. And so we're talking about key stakeholders, and you were selected because of your expertise and your knowledge in this area. So we greatly appreciate your time and commitment. Outcomes, one, we're building a community of practice around some of these issues with these types of meetings. And then we're also talking about developing a white paper and policy brief about some of the findings and outcomes from the next couple days. We're going to talk about next steps for key partners and try to figure out what are some of our next steps as we move forward, and then have a potential presentation to policymakers in the state discussing some of the issues that are brought up today and tomorrow. And so when we talk about public health really interacts in a variety of different ways, but this is kind of the 4 pillars that public health is built around. One, on educating the public, enhancing monitoring, contributing to public dialogue, and research. And that's what we're trying to get at today with this summit, or over the next 2 days with this summit, is really trying to address some of these 4 main issues that we have here in the context of water and health. And so just for brainstorming and just to bring up some ideas, because this is really trying to help with thinking through some of these problems and trying to figure out what are some of our potential solutions. And so these are just some next steps that I threw out here as potential next steps. They by no means are the beginning or the end, or you can destroy these ideas over the next couple days as well. But one is water and health assessment for Nebraska, and we can talk about what that could potentially look like. Funding opportunities for joint research projects to bring together some of the expertise that we have here in the state. Assessment of at-risk populations. And then continuing education opportunities, or building on this community of practice that we're developing here in over this next 2 days. And so with that, I want to really thank my team. I greatly, or our team, for their help and support with this. I want to thank UNL and DWFI, especially Mike Boehm and Peter McCormick for their support, and also Francis and Amber for their help as well. Nebraska Extension, Becky and Crystal, I really appreciate your help over the next couple of days as well, and some of the support and input that you guys have provided. And then lastly, all the speakers and participants, thank you so much. I greatly appreciate it. And then last but not least is the Claire M. Hubbard Foundation for their support of the Water, Climate, and Health Program and the initiative here at the University of Nebraska. And so with that, I just want to say thank you very much, and I greatly appreciate your help and your participation in this summit.
All right, thank you, Dr. Bell. Next, we're going to hear from Abdulaziz Abdoulay, who's going to share with us the results of our pre-event survey. Aziz is currently in his first year of his PhD studies in global climate change and health. His research interest is the impact of heat stress on human health. Before joining UNMC, Aziz was working at the United Nations World Food Program, and before that, he worked with the International Federation for Red Cross. Please join me in welcoming Aziz.
Thank you, Megan. I can use this. see this one. Yeah, thank you, everyone. For me, talking about water and health I'm excited because that's something, I'm coming from Africa and that's an issue. So I was really excited to kind of just see how, people think about it here in Nebraska and just be able to compare on all the issues, the solution that, so I was really excited and thank you for all the participants. It was really an exciting survey. So as Dr. Bell was mentioning, this survey was kind of to start the discussion with all the participants to just introduce the ideas, start thinking ahead, so that when we come here, we have already discussed a lot of things already, and we can just focus on the main issues. So it was kind of to have a consensus already before coming to this meeting, thinking about a lot of things that we can be discussing here, so that at the end of the meeting, we end up having something that we can really use. If we have a white paper, then that white paper can really serve a purpose. So that's what kind of the general idea of having the survey done. So it was really, for me, that was a big win. It was not easy. It was at a difficult time to have this survey. A lot of people are dealing with COVID. So we end up sending a big list. Megan was just sending me the list, and I was like, okay, let's send this. And we end up having 38%, 172 people responding. So that was a big win. And thank you to all of you for responding to this survey. So we wanted, the first question was to just understand where do everyone responding to the survey work, the region of work. And as you will see here, it's kind of almost everyone kind of works statewide. So that was exciting to see that, all the issues that we'll be discussing here is kind of transversal across the state. So we had around 32% working statewide. And the second question was to kind of see what are the sectors, to understand, kind of see if we are having certain sectors that are much more focusing on water. And as you will see here, we had from academia to nonprofit, agriculture, public health professionals. So this was already a good question to show us who are the people that we'll be discussing here. Are we having kind of across all the sectors, professional sectors, having the people on the table, as water is kind of requires the involvement of everyone. So academia was kind of, it was not surprising to see that we had more people in academia responding, but it was exciting to see as well that natural resources manager actually really responded to the survey too. And then we wanted to know kind of what are the water sources that people are really dealing with. Are you dealing with underground, or are you dealing with surface water, groundwater? And the largest number was kind of both. So most people were kind of managing both groundwater and surface water. And then that question led to now understanding what are the issues that in the professional sector, in the professional role, the participants were kind of dealing with. And as you will see here, nitrate is the biggest issue, followed by pesticide and pathogens. Yeah, for me, it's kind of not surprising seeing that, but it was interesting to see that nitrate was kind of an issue that everyone was kind of dealing with. And then we wanted to know, okay, if you are dealing with nitrate, how concerned are you with the nitrate? And as you will see here, I don't know, there's a lot of information on this slide. So maybe it's easier to start looking at the scale. So what we did was trying to just have a 5-point Likert scale to just ask people how concerned they are. And it went from extremely concerned to not at all concerned. So as you will see here for nitrate, that was one of the main concerns, one of the main contaminants that everyone else was dealing with. We saw that they are extremely concerned as well with nitrate. And you will see it's almost above 62 to 65%. People being extremely concerned by nitrate. And then after that, we had pesticide. which is, I mean, we are in Nebraska. That should be an issue. But people are still extremely concerned about pesticide too. And then we wanted to know, okay, your nitrate, for example, is a big issue. How are you concerned about nitrate? And then now we wanted to know what are the health issues that you are concerned about. You might not maybe being in health, but just being a professional working with nitrate, how concerned are you? What are the health issues? And the same thing, we scale them from extremely concerned to not concerned. And as you will see here, pediatric cancer was the first one, and people were really extremely concerned about pediatric cancer. The second one was kind of surprising to me, birth defect being the second, and people being extremely concerned about that. But that was our result, and to me, it was just a little surprising. I was expecting other things, but I didn't know. Maybe we don't talk a lot about, in our classes, we don't talk a lot about birth defect, but that was an issue here. So, and then we wanted to know what are the source of contaminations. If we are having all these health issues, how do we think? Where is all this coming from? So that's not surprising. We are in Nebraska. Row crop agriculture was the main issue, source of contamination, and people are really extremely concerned about that. And this morning, I was talking with Kitty, he was telling me that he will want to know now with COVID, all the lockdown, how does that affect now these things? But still in Nebraska, agriculture, animal agriculture, row crop agriculture, is the main concern, followed by industry, especially now that there's been a lot of lockdown. Maybe industry will change, but that's what we found out. And then very exciting to me, looking at drought and health. Dr. Bell I always tell him he's obsessed by drought. So that was exciting for me to just know what is the impact of drought on health here. And as you will see, the main thing was allergies, and people were kind of moderately concerned, but allergy was ranked first as being a concern, health issues linked to drought. And you will see there's a lot of health issues that we mentioned here. Second, mental health issue, very surprising. It was surprising to me because mental health is just not something that we don't talk about where I come from. It doesn't exist. So when I saw it here being second concern, yeah, so we do talk about mental health issues here. And surprising too, hunger and famine was ranked far away. Where I come from, when we talk about drought, the first thing we think about is food. So seeing that in Nebraska, that was something that was different to see. And then we look at flooding to kind of see what are the health and safety issues related to flooding. And as you will see here, drinking water is the main issue, and we are extremely concerned about that during flooding. And the second is displacement that we have, and you will see to me as well, just other health issues that like hunger and famine are ranked really somewhere at the end. But here in Nebraska, drinking water was the main issue. So one of the outcome, there was a lot of information that we have been able to collect, and if anyone interested to have more details, Megan gave me only 10 minutes to talk about all this, so I'm trying to speed up. But if you are interested to have more details, I will stay around, discuss some details, and even send you some information if needed. But that will just be a lot of things that will be discussed during the summit. So a lot of these things will come up. As you will see, we are really interested to reach more people. And I think that we achieved that with this survey. Based on the response that we had, we really achieved that. And the second, as you will see, the three things that we identify as being water quality issues are nitrate, pesticide, and pathogens. in Nebraska. So these three things, at least I can remember them, that, okay, these are the three problems. And the health issues, we have cancer, birth defect, and the blue baby syndrome, which are the three health issues that we identify. As everyone knows, I think we all know agriculture industry, and for drought and flood, kind of the same health issues that we mentioned: allergy, mental health, infectious disease, and access to drinking water being the main issue. So at the end, we really think that this survey will kind of just trigger the discussion, and some of the things will come up during the discussion here for the 2 days. So yeah, I'm really excited. I was happy to work on this. Thank you. And yeah, I will stick around if there is any question throughout the summit. Thank you all.